There's a photograph I'm very fond of. It shows 3 Confederate soldiers who were captured at Gettysburg, and they are posed in front of or alongside a snake rail fence. And you see exactly how the Confederate soldier was dressed. You see something in his attitude toward the camera that's revealing of his nature. And one of them has his arms like this, as if he's having his picture made, but he's determined to be the individual he is. And there's something about that picture that draws me strongly as an image of the war.
More than once during the Civil War, newspapers reported a strange phenomenon. From only a few miles away, a battle sometimes made no sound, despite the flash and smoke of cannon, and the fact that more distant observers could hear it clearly. These eerie silences were called acoustic shadows. In the summer of 1863, a Union warship hunting a Confederate commerce raider off Yokohama attacked a Japanese fleet for harassing the colony of Westerners there. The United States won its first naval battle against the Empire of Japan, but the Confederates got away. In Paris that year, new paintings by Cézanne, Whistler, and Manet were shown at a special exhibit for outcasts. In Russia, Dostoevsky finished Notes from the Underground. And in London, Karl Marx labored to complete his masterpiece, Das Kapital. For the first 6 months of 1863, Robert E. Lee and Stonewall Jackson had carried out one of the most extraordinary military campaigns in history, smashing huge federal armies at Fredericksburg and Chancellorsville and winning the undying love of the South. But by late May, Confederate luck had changed. Jackson was dead. 1,000 miles to the west, Ulysses S. Grant's siege of the rebel stronghold at Vicksburg had gone on so long that Grant himself had taken to the bottle out of boredom. As June began, the Confederates inside the town somehow managed to hold on. Now, to draw Federal troops away from Vicksburg, Lee led his army onto northern soil again, looking for the right moment to attack. When it came on the morning of July 1st, 1863, it would be in the most ordinary of places. For 3 days, 150,000 men would make war on each other in the gentle farmland of South Pennsylvania. When the 3rd day was over, it would prove to have been the most crucial day of the entire war. In the South, the war had ruined the economy, and yet the Southern fighting spirit was stronger than ever before. In the North, where industry was booming, angry working men would soon take to the streets in protest against emancipation and the war. At the end of the year, Abraham Lincoln would travel to the now quiet fields at Gettysburg and struggle to put into words what was happening to his people.
When a black soldier in New Orleans said, "Liberty must take the day, nothing shorter," he said, in effect, that when we count up those who have died, when we survey the carnage, it must be for something higher than union and free navigation of the Mississippi River. During the summer of 1863, a convention of free black people demanded the right for black men to take part in the struggle as soldiers. And their key resolution said, It is time now for more effective remedies to be thoroughly tried in the shape of warm lead and cold steel, duly administered by 100,000 black doctors.
Early in the war, a fugitive slave named Alex Turner had made his way north and joined the 1st New Jersey Cavalry. In the spring of 1863, he guided his regiment back to his old plantation at Port Royal, Virginia, and killed his former overseer. When the war was over, he went to New England and found work as a logger. In 1883, his daughter Daisy was born.
Dear Madam, I am a soldier, and my speech is rough and plain. I'm not much used to writing, and I hate to give you pain, but I promised I would do it, and he thought it might be so. If it came from one that loved him, perhaps it would ease the blow. By this time, you must surely guess the truth I fain would hide, and you pardon me for rough soldier words while I tell you how he died.
This army has never done such fighting as it will do now. We must conquer a peace. We will show the Yankees this time how we can fight. Private William Christian.
Late in May, Lee's army marched toward Pennsylvania. Union troops sent to see what they were up to completely surprised Jeb Stuart and his Confederate cavalry at Brandy Station, Virginia. 21,000 mounted men clashed along the Rappahannock for 12 hours. It was the biggest cavalry engagement in American history, and it was a standoff. But the North had learned the Confederates were on the move. The flamboyant Stuart, embarrassed at having been caught off guard and determined to redeem himself, now took off on another daring ride around the Union Army, with strict orders to stay in close touch with Lee. Lee's 70,000 men were divided into 3 corps. The first was commanded by James Longstreet, Old Pete, whom Lee called My War Horse. The second corps, Stonewall Jackson's old command, was under Richard Baldy Ewell, who had lost a leg at 2nd Manassas. The third was led by A.P. Hill, a new corps commander from Virginia, who had helped stave off disaster at Sharpsburg in 1862. On June 16th, Lee's advance column crossed the Potomac into Maryland. An even larger Union army followed, careful to keep between the Confederates and Washington. The new Union commander was George Meade. Blunt and bookish, he was referred to by subordinates as a damned old goggle-eyed snapping turtle. If the Union generals were not sure where Lee was going, Lee had no idea where the Union Army even was. Jeb Stuart's cavalry had ridden too far from the advancing army to keep him informed.
The Confederates marched through Maryland on into Pennsylvania. It's a very handsome country there. The barns are magnificent and the green fields and everything. And the people watching these Confederates go by. And there was a black body servant in the column, and they stopped to just a halt. And the people in the house asked him what he thought of this country around here. And he said, "This is a beautiful country, but it doesn't come up to home in my eyes."
Panic spread throughout the countryside. Lee's men seized livestock, food, wagons, and clothing from civilians, giving them worthless Confederate scrip in exchange.